The first time I asked Nate Callahan to save my life, I wrote it on a napkin because the man hunting me was watching my mouth. Rain struck the windows of Callahan House like handfuls of gravel. It was 11:38 on a Thursday night. The dining room glowed beneath amber lights. Crystal glasses. White tablecloths. Soft piano music. The kind of place where wealthy men spoke quietly because they had never needed to raise their voices. I had worked there for 11 months. Long enough to know which customers wanted attention, which ones wanted privacy, and which table no one approached without permission. Nathaniel Callahan sat alone in the back corner. Black suit, white shirt, notie, a glass of whiskey untouched beside his hand. People in Boston told stories about Nate Callahan. Most of them ended badly. I didn't know which stories were true. I only knew that when he entered a room, conversations became quieter. And when he looked at you lying felt dangerous. I carried his dinner toward the table. Then the front door opened. A cold draft moved through the restaurant. I heard a chair scrape behind me. Someone laughed near the bar. Normal sounds. Ordinary sounds. Then I saw him. Ryan Mercer. My hand stopped moving. The silver spoon slipped from my tray. It struck the floor. Once. Twice. Every sound in the restaurant disappeared. At least to me. Ryan stood near the entrance wearing a dark coat wet from the rain. His hair was shorter. His face thinner. But his smile was exactly the same. 2 years. 3 apartments. 4 phone numbers. And he had found me. Ryan looked directly at me. He didn't wave. Didn't speak. He simply smiled. My lungs forgot how to work. Miss Whitmore. Nate's voice. I turned. He was watching me. Not Ryan. Me. You dropped something. I know. My voice sounded wrong. Nate's eyes moved to my shaking hand, then toward the entrance. Ryan had taken a seat near the door. He didn't order anything. He just watched. I placed Nate's plate on the table. Are you all right? Yes. The lie came too quickly. Nate noticed. Of course he did. I reached for his whiskey glass. My fingers touched the napkin beneath it. An idea came before courage did. I took the napkin, turned away, pulled a pen from my apron. Ryan could see my face. So I smiled. I smiled while my hand shook beneath the table. 5 words. Then 4 more. My ex is here. Don't let him hurt me. I folded the napkin once, placed it beneath Nate's glass, and walked away. 3 steps. That was as far as I got. Claire. Nate had never used my first name before. I stopped. Behind me a chair moved. Ryan was standing. I turned slowly. Nate held the napkin. His gray eyes moved across the words, then lifted toward Ryan. And he froze. Not because he didn't know what to do. Because he recognized him. Ryan smiled. Nate stood. The entire restaurant seemed to become smaller. Come here, Nate said. I didn't move. His eyes found mine. Now. I walked back. He pulled out the chair beside him. Seat. He said. Ryan started toward us. Nate removed his coat and placed it around my shoulders. It was warm. Heavy. It smelled faintly of cedar and rain. Ryan stopped beside the table. His smile widened. Well. Nate looked up at him. No anger. No surprise. Something colder. You're supposed to be gone. Ryan glanced at me. Apparently so is she. My blood turned cold. Nate stood between us. Ryan laughed quietly. Does she know? Nate's face changed. Know what? Ryan looked at me, then back at Nate. Does she know what happened to Daniel? I felt Nate's hand tighten against the back of my chair. For the first time that night, I saw fear in the eyes of the most dangerous man in Boston. Ryan stepped away. At the door he turned. Asked him why he let me walk away. Then he disappeared into the rain. I looked at Nate. Who is Daniel? He stared at the empty doorway. When he finally answered, his voice was barely above a whisper. My brother. I swallowed. What happened to him? Nate looked at the napkin still clenched in his hand, then at me. He died because the last time Ryan Mercer asked me to look away. His eyes hardened. I did. The first thing Nate Callahan did after promising to protect me was take away every exit I thought I had. Ryan had been gone for less than 30 seconds when Nate touched my shoulder. We're leaving. I have a shift. Not anymore. Pulled his coat tighter around me. You don't get to decide that. Nate looked toward the rain-covered windows. Ryan Mercer found you. I noticed. Then you understand why staying here is dangerous. I glanced around the restaurant. Customers were pretending not to watch us. 2 men in dark suits had appeared near the entrance. I had seen them before. Nate's security. I can go home. No, the answer came too quickly. Too easily. I looked at him. You read one sentence on a napkin and suddenly you own my life? Something moved behind his eyes. I don't own anything about you. Good. But you're not going home. That sounds remarkably similar. Nate stepped closer. His voice lowered. Ryan didn't come here to hurt you tonight. My stomach tightened. How do you know? Because if he wanted to, he wouldn't have announced himself. The piano continued playing. Soft. Elegant. Completely wrong for the fear moving through my chest. What does he want? Nate looked at the door. Me. 20 minutes later, I sat inside the back of a black SUV. Boston blurred past the windows. Then, streetlights. Empty sidewalks. Nate sat beside me. Silent. I hated his silence. Who was Daniel? My brother. You said that. Nate looked at me. Then why ask? Because dead brothers don't make dangerous men walk into restaurants after 2 years. His jaw tightened. You ask too many questions. You answer too few. For a second I thought he might smile. He didn't. Ryan worked for Daniel. Doing what? Things you don't need to know. I laughed once. He found me after I changed my name, my phone number, and my city. Nate's expression changed. You changed your name? I looked away. Too late. Claire. Don't. What was your name? Still none of your business. The SUV stopped. I looked outside. A narrow townhouse stood behind a brick wall. No number. No visible cameras. No navigation lights. Where are we? Somewhere Ryan can't reach you. Nate opened the door. I stayed seated. You said that like you've brought people here before. I have. Did they leave? His eyes met mine. All except one. I didn't ask. Not yet. Inside the house was quiet. Warm. Too clean. Nate entered a security code. 3 locks engaged behind us. The sound made my chest tighten. Click. 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 You're staying here tonight. No, Nate turned. You asked me to protect you. I asked for help. Same thing. No, my voice echoed through the hallway. Protection without choice is another kind of prison. Nate went completely still. I expected anger. Instead, he looked wounded. Only for a second. Then it disappeared. He handed me a phone. One call button reaches me. Another reaches security. And the third. Police. That surprised me. You trust the police? No, then why? Because you might. He walked toward the door. You're leaving. I need to find Ryan. And if he finds you first? Nate stopped. For the first time he looked tired. He already did once. The door closed behind him. I stood alone. 10 minutes later, voices came through the security monitor. Nate. One of his men. Mercer knew about Daniel, the man said. He always knew. And if Claire discovers what happened? Silence. Then Nate answered. She can't. My skin went cold. Why? Another long silence. Because if she learns why Daniel died, she'll understand the truth. What truth? Nate's voice dropped. The night my brother needed me, I protected the wrong man. The monitor went silent. Then a light appeared outside the window. Headlights. A car stopped beyond the wall. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. I opened the message. You should ask Nate what happened to the last woman he kept in that house. I looked toward the locked front door. Then at the dark hallway behind me. For the first time I couldn't decide which frightened me more. The man hunting me outside. Or the man who had locked me somewhere he swore was safe. The first secret I learned about Nate Callahan was that he didn't build safe houses for people he loved. He built them for people he had already failed. I stared at Ryan's message until the screen dimmed. The last woman he kept in that house. I read it again, then deleted it. Not because I believed Nate, because Ryan wanted me afraid, and I was tired of giving him what he wanted. The security monitor showed 4 camera feeds. Front gate, back, entrance, driveway, hallway. No movement. I walked upstairs. The house had 3 bedrooms. 2 were empty. The 3rd door was locked. I found the key in the kitchen drawer. I told myself I was looking for another exit. That was the lie. Inside, dust covered everything. A woman's coat hung behind the door. A photograph rested beside the bed. Nate, younger. Beside him stood another man. Same gray eyes. Same controlled expression. Daniel. And beside Daniel stood Ryan Mercer. My stomach tightened. You shouldn't be in here. I turned. Nate stood in the doorway. Rain darkened his coat. You came back. You broke into a locked room. Your safe house locked me inside first. His jaw tightened. I held up the photograph. Tell me the truth. Nate looked at it. Then away. Ryan worked for Daniel. I know. No. You know his name. Nate entered the room. You don't know what he was. What was he? A man I should have stopped. The answer surprised me. Why didn't you? Nate remained silent. I stepped closer. You told me Daniel died because you protected the wrong man. I did. How? Nate took the photograph from my hand. Daniel trusted Ryan. You didn't. No. Then why let him stay? Because my brother asked me to. The room became quiet. Rain struck the windows. Nate looked at Daniel's face. Ryan knew things about our family. What things? Enough to destroy us. So you protected your empire. Nate's eyes lifted to mine. Yes. The honesty hurt more than an excuse would have. What happened to Daniel? 3 months later, someone gave information about his movements to men waiting for him. Ryan. I could never prove it. But you believed it. Yes. And the woman? Nate froze. I knew immediately. Ryan hadn't lied. Who was she? Emily Carter. What happened to her? She came here because Ryan was following her. My chest tightened. You protected her? I tried. What does that mean? Nate looked toward the window. I kept her here. Changed her phone. Controlled who she spoke to. Decided where she went. That sounds familiar. His face hardened. I thought control meant safety. And she left. Because of you? Yes. The word barely carried. Ryan found her 6 months later. I stopped breathing. Is she alive? Yes. Relief moved through me. Nate continued. But she never came back to Boston. I looked at him. So Ryan sent that message because he wants me to think you'll fail again. Nonat stepped closer. He sent it because he knows I will become dangerous when I'm afraid of failing again. That frightened me more. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. A photograph appeared. Me. Standing inside the restaurant 11 months earlier. The day I applied for the job. Under it were 6 words. You were never hard to find. Nate saw my face. What is it? I showed him. His expression changed. Claire. What? You said Ryan found you after 2 years. Yes. Nate enlarged the photograph. He didn't. My skin went cold. What do you mean? He's known where you were for 11 months. I stared at the screen. Then why wait? Nate looked at me. That is the question. A car alarm sounded outside. Once. Then stopped. Nate turned toward the security monitor. Every camera feed went black. He reached for his phone. No signal. The lights flickered. Then died. Darkness swallowed the house. Nate moved toward me. Stay behind me. No Claire. You said Ryan becomes dangerous when you're afraid. Silence. So don't let fear decide what I do. For 1 second Nate said nothing. Then he handed me a small flashlight. Stay beside me. The words surprised us both. A sound came from downstairs. Glass breaking. Nate looked toward the hallway. Then at me. There's another exit through the basement. Are you coming? No, I grabbed his arm. You don't get to lock me away and call it protection. Footsteps moved below us. Slow. Deliberate. Nate's eyes met mine. And for the first time, the most powerful man in Boston didn't give me an order. He asked, "Claire, what do you need me to do?" Before I could answer, a voice came through the darkness downstairs. Not Ryan's. A voice Nate recognized. His face went completely still. "Nate." The stranger laughed softly. "You really should be more careful about who you trust inside your own house." The man standing downstairs wasn't Ryan Mercer. That was worse, because Nate trusted him enough to let him know where the safe house was. Nate moved first. He turned off my flashlight. Darkness swallowed us. "Who is it?" I whispered. "Marcus Hale." The name meant nothing to me. Nate's expression told me it should have. "Your security." My head of security. A floorboard creaked below. "Nate," Marcus called. "We need to talk." Nate reached for my hand, then stopped. "Basement exit." "No, Claire." "You asked what I needed." His jaw tightened. "I need the truth." Another silence. Then Nate nodded. We walked downstairs together. Marcus stood in the living room. No weapon in his hands. Rain covered his black coat. "You disabled the cameras," Nate said. Marcus smiled. "I needed privacy. You knew Claire was here. I put her here." My blood went cold. Nate stepped forward. "What did you say?" Marcus looked at me. "Ryan didn't find the restaurant by accident." Nate's face hardened. "You told him." No. Marcus reached inside his coat. Nate moved in front of me. Marcus slowly removed a phone. "I told him where to look." "Why?" "Because you stopped looking." Nate stared at him. Marcus placed the phone on the table. A photograph filled the screen. Daniel Callahan. Alive. Standing outside a warehouse. The date beneath it was 3 days before his death. Beside him stood Ryan. And Marcus. Nate stopped breathing. "You were there." "Yes." "Why?" "Daniel asked me to help him." "With what?" Marcus looked at me. "Getting rid of Ryan." The room became silent. Nate picked up the phone. "Daniel wanted Ryan gone?" "He discovered what Ryan was doing." "What?" "Threatening women. Moving money through Callahan businesses. Selling information." Nate's hand tightened. "He came to me because he knew you'd choose the family." Pain crossed Nate's face. "He never told me." "He tried." Marcus looked directly at him. "You refused to listen." Nate went still. I remembered his words. I protected the wrong man. Now I understood. He hadn't simply failed Daniel. Daniel had asked for help. And Nate had chosen silence. "What happened that night?" I asked. Marcus looked at me. "Daniel arranged a meeting. He planned to record Ryan admitting everything. And someone warned Ryan." Nate's voice became quiet. "Who?" Marcus didn't answer. Nate stepped closer. "Who warned him?" Marcus looked toward the dark window. "I did." The confession landed like broken glass. Nate didn't move. "Why?" "Ryan had evidence against me." "Of what?" Marcus swallowed. "Money. Accounts. Things I did before I worked for you. You traded my brother's life for yours. I didn't know Daniel would die." Nate crossed the room. I grabbed his arm. "Nate." He stopped. Not because I was stronger, because he listened. Marcus looked at me. "That is why Ryan came back." "What does he want?" "You." My chest tightened. "Why?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "Because he knows Nate will destroy everything to keep from failing again." Nate released a slow breath. "You brought Ryan here." "I brought him close." "For what?" "To force you to finish what Daniel started." Nate stared at him. "You used Claire." Marcus looked ashamed. "Yes." My phone vibrated. A message. "Ryan." I opened it. "Thank Marcus for the invitation." Then another. "Now ask him who gave me your name 2 years ago." I looked at Marcus. His face changed. Nate saw it. "What?" I showed him the message. Marcus stepped backward. "I never gave Ryan her name." "Then who did?" Marcus looked at me. "You said you changed your name." "Yes." "Who helped you?" My mouth went dry. "One person. The woman who found me after I left Ryan. The woman who paid for my first apartment. The woman who helped me become Claire Whitmore. Emily Carter." Nate froze. The last woman he had kept in this house. The woman Ryan found 6 months after she left. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A woman's voice whispered through the speaker. Claire. I couldn't breathe. Emily. Nate stared at me. The woman continued. You need to leave that house. Why? A pause. Then 5 words that changed everything. Because Ryan is already inside. The moment Emily told me Ryan was already inside, I understood something Nate had not. The safest room in the house was exactly where Ryan wanted us to stay. I lowered the phone. Nate watched my face. What did she say? He's inside. Marcus turned toward the hallway. That's impossible. Nate's eyes hardened. You disabled the security system. Only the cameras. A sound came from the kitchen. Metal against stone. Soft. Deliberate. Nate stepped in front of me. I grabbed his sleeve. Don't. Claire. He wants you afraid. Another sound. Closer. Marcus reached for his phone. No signal. Nate looked toward the basement door. There's an emergency transmitter downstairs. I'll go. No, I stared at him. You asked what I needed. His jaw tightened. I need you to trust me. Ido. The words surprised us both. But trusting you doesn't mean standing behind you while you make every decision. Footsteps moved upstairs. Nate looked at Marcus. Take Claire downstairs. Marcus nodded. I didn't move. Nate. Go. Then I saw it. A small red light beneath the staircase. Blinking. Once. Twice. The backup alarm panel. I remembered Nate showing me the house when we arrived. One switch connected directly to an external security team. Independent power. Independent signal. I moved. Claire. I reached the panel. The protective cover was open. Someone had cut the primary wire. But not the secondary one. Ryan had expected us to run. He hadn't expected me to look. I pressed the emergency switch. Nothing happened. Then the red light turned green. Marcus stared at me. You just sent our location. To Nate's security? No, his face changed. To everyone. A phone rang upstairs. Then another. Ryan's voice came from the darkness. You always were observant, Claire. My body froze. Nate moved toward the stairs. I caught his hand. No, he's here. That's what he wants. Ryan laughed above us. You still think you're protecting her, Nate? Nate looked upward. Come down. No, Ryan's voice moved farther away. You come to me. A door slammed upstairs. Marcus swore. He's leaving. Nate started forward. I pulled him back. Wait. For what? I looked at the green light. Ryan knew the system. Marcus stared at me. What? He knew we'd activate the backup signal. Nate understood. This is a trap. A message appeared on Marcus's phone. Warehouse District. One address. Below it. Come alone, Nate. Or Emily doesn't walk away again. Nate's face went cold. He headed for the door. I stepped in front of him. No, move. You know it's a trap. I know. And you're still going? Yes. Why? His voice lowered. Because I failed Daniel. That isn't an answer. I failed Emily. Still not an answer. His eyes met mine. Because I won't fail you. I hated how much that hurt. You don't get to turn guilt into courage. Nate went silent. Marcus looked toward the window. We have minutes. Nate left. Marcus followed. I stood alone. Then I looked at the security panel. 4 signals were moving toward the warehouse. Nate. Marcus. 2 security vehicles. But another signal remained near the house. A tracking device. I followed it to Nate's coat. The one he had placed around my shoulders at the restaurant. Inside the pocket was a small transmitter. Not Nate's. Ryan's. I understood. Ryan didn't want Nate at the warehouse. He wanted Nate away from me. I called him. No answer. Again. Nothing. Then the house lights came back on. Every camera feed returned. One image appeared on the monitor. Nate's SUV stopped beneath an overpass. 3 vehicles surrounding it. My breath caught. A message appeared. You should have run when you had the chance. I grabbed the emergency phone. The police button. Then stopped. Ryan expected panic. He expected me to wait, to hide, to be rescued. I looked at the tracking signal, then at the map of Nate's security network. One vehicle had changed direction before the ambush. Marcus's. I pressed the emergency call, gave the location, then sent Nate's security team a warning. One sentence. Marcus is not with Nate. Seconds later the map changed. 2 vehicles turned back. Toward Nate. The ambush collapsed before it could close. My phone rang. Nate, you warned them. Yes. How did you know? Because Ryan wasn't the only person watching you. Silence. Then Nate whispered. Claire. What? You saved my life. I looked at the green light. No, my voice shook. I just refused to run. Behind me the front door opened. I turned. Emily Carter stood there. Pale. Terrified. Alive. She looked at me. Then at the phone in my hand. You need to hang up. Why? Her eyes filled with fear. Because Nate Callahan isn't the reason Ryan has been hunting you. My blood went cold. Emily stepped closer. You are. The truth Emily gave me was worse than fear, because it proved I had never escaped Ryan at all. I had only carried the reason he wanted me from one city to another. What do you mean he was hunting me because of me? Emily closed the door behind her. 2 years ago, you took something from him. No? Yes. I left with a suitcase. And the blue flash drive. My breath stopped. I remembered it. Small. Plastic. Hidden inside Ryan's desk. I had found it the night I left. I thought it held photographs. Proof. Something I could use if he ever found me again. I had never opened it. Where is it? Emily asked. Safe. Claire. I said safe. She looked toward the windows. Ryan doesn't care about Nate's empire. He cares about what is on that drive. What is on it? Accounts. Recordings. Names. My stomach tightened. Daniel. Emily nodded. Daniel discovered Ryan was moving money through Callahan businesses. He started collecting evidence. And Ryan killed him? I don't know. That isn't good enough. It's the truth. My phone rang. Nate. I answered. Where are you? Coming back. Don't. Silence. Why? Emily is here. The line went quiet. Then his voice changed. Get away from her. Emily heard him. Pain crossed her face. He still thinks I betrayed him. Did you? She looked at me. Yes. Nate's voice came through the phone. Claire, leave the house. I stared at Emily. Why did you help me? Because I knew what Ryan had done. How? Because I helped Daniel collect the evidence. My hand tightened around the phone. You knew Daniel? I loved him. The room became smaller. Nate heard. What did she say? Emily closed her eyes. Tell him. I lifted the phone. She loved Daniel. Nothing. Then Nate whispered. No. Emily stepped closer. Daniel was going to leave Boston. Nate's breathing changed. He would never leave. He was leaving because of you. Silence. You kept choosing the family over the truth. Nate didn't answer. Emily continued. Daniel gave me the drive. I hid it in Ryan's office because Ryan would never suspect the evidence was inside his own house. I understood. And I took it. Yes. By accident. Yes. Ryan had spent 2 years watching me because I carried the one thing that could destroy him. Why didn't you tell me? Because the less you knew, the safer you were. I laughed bitterly. Everyone keeps saying that before deciding my life for me. Emily looked ashamed. The front door opened. Nate entered. Rain on his shoulders. A cut above his eyebrow. Alive. He saw Emily. Neither moved. Years of guilt filled the silence between them. Where is Marcus? I asked. Gone. You trusted him. Yes. And he betrayed you. Yes. Emily looked at Nate. Daniel trusted Ryan. Nate flinched. And you protected Ryan. I know. No, she said. You protected your power. Nate didn't defend himself. That surprised me. He looked at me instead. Where is the drive? My apartment. We'll retrieve it. No, his face hardened. Claire. Ryan has spent 2 years waiting for me to lead him to it. You can't go alone. I didn't say alone. Emily looked at me. Nate understood. You're not using yourself as bait. I'm not asking permission. I won't let you risk your life. The words landed wrong. I stepped closer. Then you're not protecting me. His expression changed. You're deciding who I'm allowed to become. Silence. Rain whispered against the windows. For once, Nate had no order ready. No command. No locked door. I watched the fight leave his face. Then he asked the question I had been waiting for since the restaurant. What do you need? I looked at Emily. Then at Nate. I need Ryan to believe I'm still afraid. Nate's eyes narrowed. And then, I give him exactly what he wants. The drive. No, I walked to the table and unfolded the city map. I give him me. Nate's jaw tightened. I raised my hand before he could speak. But this time you don't stand in front of me. He looked at me. Where do I stand? I met his eyes. Behind me. Emily stared at the map. There is one place Ryan will come. Where? The hotel where Daniel planned to expose him. Nate went still. Emily pointed toward the Boston Harbor. The place where all of this should have ended years ago. My phone vibrated. Ryan. One message. I know you have the drive. I typed back. Then come get it. 3 dots appeared. Then his answer. Midnight. Harbor Hotel. Come alone. Nate read the message. You're not going alone. I looked at him. I know. For the first time since Ryan walked into Callahan house, I wasn't asking the most dangerous man in Boston to save me. I was asking him to trust me enough to let me stop running. The night I stopped running from Ryan Mercer was the same night Nate Callahan finally understood that protecting me meant trusting me enough to stand where I asked. The Harbor Hotel had been abandoned for 7 years. Broken windows. Salt-stained walls. A dead neon sign trembling above the entrance. Midnight arrived beneath heavy rain. I stood across the street. Alone. At least that was what Ryan was supposed to believe. The flash drive rested inside my coat pocket. Not the real one. Emily had created a copy. Enough files to make Ryan believe I had brought what he wanted. Nate stood somewhere behind me. Invisible. Waiting. That had been the hardest part of the plan. Convincing him not to control it. If anything changes, you leave, he had told me. No, Claire. If anything changes, you trust me to decide. He hated that answer. But he nodded. Now I crossed the street. The hotel door was open. Inside, water dripped from the ceiling. One drop. Then another. My footsteps echoed through the lobby. Ryan. A light appeared upstairs. Come up. His voice. Calm. Almost friendly. I climbed the staircase. Every instinct told me to turn around. I kept moving. Ryan stood inside the old ballroom. No weapon. No visible fear. Just the same smile I remembered. You came. You knew I would. His eyes moved to my pocket. You brought it. Yes. Give it to me. I stayed where I was. Tell me what happened to Daniel. Ryan laughed. You still think this is about Daniel? It started with him. No, he stepped closer. It started with Nate. I said nothing. Ryan continued. Daniel discovered the accounts. He wanted to expose me. And you stopped him. I survived him. That isn't the same thing. His smile disappeared. You sound like Nate. No. Looked directly at him. Nate spent years believing power could erase consequences. Ryan's eyes narrowed. And now he's learning consequences are the only things power can't buy. Silence. Ryan held out his hand. The drive. I removed it. His eyes followed every movement. You watched me for 2 years. Yes. Why didn't you take it? Because I didn't know where you hid it. You could have forced me. His expression changed. I tried fear before. My skin went cold. You wanted me to lead you to it. Yes. And the restaurant? To make you run. To Nate. To whoever made you feel safe. I understood. You wanted him involved. I wanted him desperate. Ryan smiled. Desperate men make predictable mistakes. I looked toward the dark windows. Not anymore. Ryan followed my eyes. Then laughed. You brought him. No, his smile faded. I brought the truth. I placed the drive on the table. Ryan picked it up, inserted it into a laptop. Files appeared. Accounts, names, recordings. His face changed. You opened it. Yes. That was the lie. Emily had. Ryan looked at me. You shouldn't have done that. Behind him, a red light blinked on the laptop. The files were uploading. Not to Nate. To 3 separate investigators Emily had contacted before arriving at the safe house. Ryan reached for the computer. Closed it. He grabbed my wrist. Stop. My fear returned. Fast. Physical. But I didn't pull away. You don't control me anymore. His grip tightened. Then a voice came from the doorway. Let her go. Nate. Ryan smiled. There he is. Nate stepped into the room. No raised voice. No threat. Just stillness. Ryan released me. You couldn't stay behind her. Nate looked at me. Not Ryan. Claire. One question. My choice. I stepped away from Ryan. I'm okay. Nate nodded. He didn't move closer. Ryan stared at him. You've changed. No, Nate's voice was quiet. She changed what I was willing to become. Sirens sounded outside. Ryan looked toward the windows. Then at me. You called the police. No, Emily entered behind Nate. I did. Ryan's face finally broke. Not anger. Fear. Emily held up her phone. Daniel recorded everything. Ryan stepped backward. What? The original drive wasn't only financial records. She looked at Nate. It contained Daniel's last conversation with Ryan. Nate went still. Emily pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the ballroom. Clear. Alive. And then Ryan's. Admitting he had threatened Daniel. Admitting he had sold information. Admitting enough to destroy the lie he had lived behind for years. Ryan looked toward the exit. Nate could have stopped him. He didn't. Police lights filled the windows. Blue. Red. Blue again. Ryan stared at Nate. You're letting them take me? Nate's face remained calm. No, he looked at me. She is. For the first time in my life, Ryan Mercer looked at me without power. And for the first time, Nate Callahan stood beside me without trying to take mine. The morning after Ryan Mercer lost his power, Nate Callahan discovered that justice could expose a man without healing the people he had already broken. The police took Ryan away at 1:17 a.m. I watched from the hotel steps. Rain fell over Boston Harbor. Blue lights moved across the wet pavement. Ryan never looked at Nate. He looked at me. Not with anger. Not anymore. With disbelief. Men like Ryan understood fear. They understood control. What they never understood was the moment someone stopped giving them either. Emily stood beside me. Nate remained behind us. Exactly where I had asked him to stand. When the last police car disappeared, silence returned. Nate looked at Emily. Daniel loved you. She nodded. You knew. No pain moved across his face. He tried to tell me. Yes. And I didn't listen. Emily looked toward the harbor. You listened to power. Nate said nothing. That was the difference. The man I had met at Callahan House would have defended himself. This man accepted the wound. We returned to the safe house before sunrise. Marcus was gone. So were several files from Nate's private security network. But the investigators already had Daniel's evidence. Ryan's accounts. His recordings. His connections. Enough truth had escaped into the world that no one could lock it away again. Nate stood alone in the kitchen. I found him staring at Daniel's photograph. You should sleep, I said. So, should you? I tried. And I don't trust quiet rooms yet. He looked at me. Neither of us smiled. I owe you an apology, he said. For which part? All of it. I leaned against the counter. That's a large apology. I know. You locked me inside this house. Yes. You decided where I could go. Yes. You believed fear gave you the right to control me. His eyes lowered. Yes. I waited. No excuses came. That mattered. What happens now? I asked. I closed the businesses Ryan used. Even if they make you money? Yes. You cooperate with the investigators? Yes. That could cost you everything. Nate looked at Daniel's photograph. It already cost me something worth more. I understood. Guilt isn't redemption. No. Losing power isn't redemption either. No. Then what is? He looked at me. Doing the next right thing when no one is there to reward you. The answer stayed between us. Simple. Heavy. Emily entered the kitchen. We found Marcus. Nate turned. Where? At the airport. He's leaving. He tried. She placed a phone on the table. Before security detained him, he sent me this. A recording. Marcus's voice. Shaking. Confessing. He had warned Ryan about Daniel's plan. But there was more. Someone else had ordered him to do it. Someone inside the Callahan organization. Nate played the recording twice. Who? Emily opened another file. A name appeared. Thomas Callahan. Nate's father. The room went silent. Your father knew, I whispered. Nate stared at the screen. He ordered Marcus to protect Ryan. Why? Emily opened the financial records. Ryan wasn't stealing from the Callahan businesses. She looked at Nate. He was moving money for your father. Nate stepped backward. No. Daniel discovered it. My chest tightened. That is why Daniel died. Emily nodded. Nate looked at the photograph. Years of loyalty. Silence. Obedience. Everything he had built his identity around collapsed without making a sound. My father told me Daniel was reckless. Emily's eyes filled with tears. He was trying to save you. Nate sat down. I had never seen him look small before. Not weak. Human. What do I do? He asked. The question wasn't for Emily. It was for me. I walked closer. You tell the truth. He's my father. I know. If I expose him, the Callahan organization falls apart. Maybe it should. Nate looked at me. I didn't look away. You told me power can't erase consequences. Yes. Then don't use yours to protect him from them. A long silence. Nate picked up the phone. Called his attorney. Then the investigators. By sunrise, Thomas Callahan's name was part of the evidence. Nate had spent his entire life protecting his family. That morning, he finally understood that protecting a family and protecting its sins were not the same thing. 3 weeks later, the Callahan organization began to collapse. Businesses closed. Accounts were frozen. Old allies disappeared. Nate lost money. Influence. Men who once answered his calls. I expected him to become bitter. He didn't. One evening, I found him outside Callahan House. The restaurant was closed. The sign dark. He held something in his hand. The napkin. My napkin. My ex is here. Don't let him hurt me. You kept it, I said. Yes. Why? Nate looked at the words. Because that was the night someone asked me for protection. He looked at me. And I finally learned protection isn't deciding someone's life for them. I stepped closer. What is it then? His voice became quiet. Standing beside them while they decided themselves. For the first time, Nate Callahan had almost nothing left to offer me. No empire. No safe house. No army of men waiting for his orders. Just the truth. And somehow, that was the first time I believed he had become powerful enough to deserve my trust. A year after I begged Nate Callahan not to let another man hurt me, I finally understood that the reason I stayed was because Nate had learned he could love me without asking me to belong to him. Boston looked different when I stopped being afraid of it. I opened Whitmore Cafe 11 months after Ryan Mercer was arrested. Small place. 12 tables. Brick walls. Windows facing the harbor. No hidden exits. No security cameras in every corner. No locked rooms. The first morning, I stood behind the counter and watched strangers enter without wondering whether one of them had come to find me. That was freedom. Emily moved to Maine. She testified against Thomas Callahan. So did Nate. Thomas was convicted on financial charges and conspiracy connected to Daniel's death. Marcus accepted a plea agreement. Ryan received enough years that I stopped counting them. The Callahan organization disappeared. Not overnight. Empires rarely fall that cleanly. But businesses closed. Men left. Names vanished from doors. Nate sold what remained. Then he disappeared too. Not from Boston. From my life. He never called. Never sent security. Never appeared outside my apartment. For months, I hated him for respecting the freedom I had demanded. Then one rainy Tuesday afternoon, the cafe door opened. Nate walked inside. No black suit. Dark sweater. Gray coat. Alone. He looked around. Then at me. Coffee. I stared at him. That's all you have to say? I practiced several speeches. What happened? They were terrible. I almost smiled. What kind? The kind where I explained why you should forgive me. And I realize forgiveness isn't something I get to negotiate. That time I did smile. Nate sat at the counter. I poured coffee. He noticed the frame on the wall. The napkin. My ex is here. Don't let him hurt me. His expression changed. You kept it. So did you. I gave mine to the investigators. Very responsible. I regret it. I laughed. The sound surprised me. Nate looked at the napkin again. Why frame it? Because I wanted to remember the last night I believed being saved meant someone else had to be stronger than me. And now, I leaned against the counter. Now I think strength is knowing who deserves to stand beside you. Nate looked at me. Hope moved across his face. Careful. Quiet. What are you doing tonight? He asked. Closing the cafe. After that, going home. Alone. I raised an eyebrow. Nate exhaled. Wrong question. Yes. He tried again. Would you have dinner with me? I let the silence stay. The old Nate would have filled it. Made plans. Sent a car. Chosen the restaurant. This man waited. I don't know, I said. He nodded. All right. No anger. No pressure. He stood. That was when I realized I didn't need him to prove he had changed. He had already done it by accepting an answer he didn't want. Nate. He stopped. Tomorrow. He turned. What? Dinner. Something softened in his face. Tomorrow. I choose the restaurant. Yes. I drive myself. Yes. No security. He hesitated. I smiled. Nate. No security. 7. He walked toward the door. Nate. He turned again. I looked at the framed napkin. You know what the strangest part is? What? That night, I thought I was asking you to save me. You were. No, I walked around the counter. I was asking you to stand beside me until I remembered I could save myself. Nate looked at me. And now? I stopped in front of him. Now I'm asking if you want to keep standing there. He didn't touch me. Didn't claim me. Didn't promise me the world. He simply smiled. Yes. Outside, rain moved softly across Boston Harbor. A year earlier, I had written 9 frightened words because I believed the most dangerous man in the room was the only person strong enough to protect me. I was wrong. Nate Callahan didn't save me. He gave me time to remember my own strength. And I didn't save him either. I gave him a reason to become someone who no longer needed power to feel worthy of love. He spent his life believing protection meant standing in front of people. I spent mine believing survival meant running alone. In the end, love taught us both the same thing. Sometimes the bravest place two people can stand is side by side.